Let me make this as plain as I know how to make it. If Florida voters approve Amendment 3, local governments will collect less property tax money. And if government collects less tax money, governments will have to do less. Bottom line. Now, that's not a flaw hidden somewhere deep inside the amendment. That's actually the point. But watch what happens next. The people who have grown comfortable and used to spending your money will rush to the nearest microphone to tell you the things that are on the chopping block. Like police officers and firefighters and ambulances and roads and stormwater drainage. Somehow it's never the consultants or the studies or the unnecessary program. And it's never like the public relations budget. It's never the subsidy for a private developer. And it is certainly never the $2 billion sports stadium. No. The first thing they hold in front of you is a firefighter. Because they know that you will become afraid and stop asking questions. Not today. Today, we're going to ask the question government hopes that you never ask. What is government actually required to do? And what has it simply decided it would like to do with our money? Well, good morning, and welcome to the Morning Report. My name is Willie Lawson, and this is Fight Back Media. Florida Amendment 3 is scheduled to go before the voters in November. If it reaches the required 60% approval, it would increase the homestead exemption for non-school property taxes to $150,000, from $25,000 to $150,000 in 2027, and then $250,000 in 2028. And beginning in 2029, that amount would be adjusted for inflation. School property taxes would remain largely unchanged. The Save Our Homes assessment cap would remain unchanged. The amendment would also reduce the annual assessment growth cap on non-homesteaded properties, rentals, commercial property, and second homes from 10% down to 5%. This applies to assessed value, not market value. That matters. It also doesn't mean that every homeowner simply receives a $250,000 reduction from today's taxable value. The exact saving would depend on the assessed value and the local millage rates. Still, this would be an enormous change. The official legislative analysis estimates local non-school property tax revenue would fall about $4.95 billion in fiscal year 2027-28, and about $8.78 billion in 2028-29, and eventually by nearly $11.9 billion annually. Now, let's use the right language, of course. Government calls that lost revenue. Homeowners like me call it money that we're allowed to keep. The money doesn't just disappear. It changes hands. Or more accurately, it never leaves the hands that earned it. Now, some of that money will be spent. Families may repair the roof, replace an appliance, service a car, eat at a local restaurant, or hire local contractors. Some will pay down credit card debt, and some of it might even go into savings. Some will help cover insurance premiums, which are a thing, right? Some may help older homeowner remain in the house, whose rising costs are pushing them out. That additional activity should increase sales tax collections without increasing the sales tax rate. Florida's general sales tax rate is 6%, and many counties impose a local surtax. We know about that here. More taxable purchases means more collections at the existing rate. Now, I got to be honest, The additional sales tax revenue probably will not replace all the property tax revenue. And it won't even come close, really. Not every saved dollar will be spent. Not every purchase will be taxable. And most of the 6% sales tax belong to the state government, while the property tax reduction and land on counties, cities, and special districts. So yes, government will have less money. That means governments must do less. Because for years, politicians have treated government activity as essential. And it's not. Something may be pleasant, may be popular, helpful, or attractive, without being an essential function of government. Police protection, essential. Fire and emergency response are essential. Courts, elections, sanitation, roads, bridges, and stormwater systems are essential. A safe water supply is essential. Government must perform the functions required by law and the basic duties necessary to protect life, liberty, property, and public order. After that, every expenditure should have to answer 4 questions. First, is it truly necessary? Second, and I think most importantly, is it a proper function of government? 3, is it producing a measurable result? And 4, can the private sector, a charity, a church, a neighborhood association, or individual citizens do it without compulsory taxation? If the honest answer to those questions is no, then the program should be reduced, transferred, or ended. There will be people who call that cruel and insensitive and racist. I call it responsible. Government cannot promise everything to everybody forever. Every public program is paid for with money taken from someone who worked for it. That fact should create humility. Instead, too many elected officials behave as though the budget belongs to them and taxpayers are merely the funding source. Now, hopefully, Amendment 3 would reverse that assumption. Government would have to justify taking money instead of homeowners having to justify keeping it. Now, that brings me to stadiums. All right. Before I get started here, I want to reiterate what some of you know that I've been saying for a while. I think building a stadium on the baseball field on the property at Hillsborough College is a super good idea. Because we have to separate good ideas from who pays for them, right? It's a fantastic idea. I think the, revitalizing of Drew Park is a great idea, right? However, I think the rate should pay for it. So if local government is preparing to tell us that they may not have enough money for deputies and firefighters and roads and drainage, then there shouldn't be $2 million available to build the Rays Stadium for a privately owned professional sports franchise. Frankly, you cannot have it both ways. You can't tell the homeowner, if we let you keep more of your money, essential services are in danger, and then turn right around and discover a mountain of public money for a ballpark. Because a professional sports team is a business. Its owners keep the increase in franchise value. They sell the tickets. They sell the sponsorships and the naming rights. They negotiate television contracts. They collect the concessions and parking revenue according to whatever agreement politicians approve. If the stadium produces extraordinary profits, taxpayers do not receive ownership shares in the team. There's only one professional sports team that I know that's owned by this city. And if I'm wrong, go ahead and write in the comments, but I think it's the Green Bay Packers. But when it comes time to build a building, suddenly everybody's a partner. That's not free enterprise. That's private property protected by public risk. Stadium supporters tell us about jobs. Tourists, restaurant, economic development, fine. Put every claim on the table and verify it independently. Don't let the team hire the consultant, select the assumption, and then hand taxpayers a glossy brochure describing every dollar spent at the stadium as a new economic activity. Ask how much spending is truly new. A family that spends $200 at a baseball game may spend $200 less at another restaurant or theater or entertainment business. Moving money from one side of the county to the other is not automatically economic growth. Ask about opportunity cost. What could $2 billion accomplish if it remained in private hands? How many roofs? How many cars and meals and medical bills and business expansions and family emergencies could it cover? If government must spend it, how many roads, drainage projects, water systems, and public safety needs would come before a stadium? Ask who carries the risk. If attendance disappoints, development stalls, or revenue projections fail, who pays? If the answer is the taxpayer, while the franchise owner keeps the upside, the agreement is backwards. Again, I'm not against baseball or football. I'm not against stadiums. Build a magnificent stadium. Make it the finest facility in America. But the people who own the business and receive the profits should carry the cost and the risk. Government may provide the ordinary permitting and infrastructure treatment any comparable development we receive, but extraordinary subsidies require extraordinary proof. We might lose the team. It's not a financial analysis, it's an emotional blackmail. Okay. Now, here's what we got to watch after Amendment 3, because I think Amendment 3 will pass. We got to start watching this stuff. Governments may genuinely reduce spending, and that is what should happen. Officials should eliminate duplication and freeze unnecessary hiring, examine administrative overhead, renegotiate contracts and sell unused properties, postpone weak projects, and stop funding functions outside government's proper mission. Or government may try to replace the money through the back door. Watch for this. New fees, special assessments, higher charges, more tolls, higher millage rates on property that remain taxable. The larger burden shifts to renters, businesses, and non-homestead owners. That will give homeowners a visible tax cut followed by a collection of less visible bills. Now, we can't vote for discipline and then stop paying attention. Amendment 3 would be the beginning of the work, not the end. Every county and city should publish a line-by-line plan explaining what it will protect, what it will reduce, what it will consolidate, and what it will eliminate. Officials must not be permitted to start with services that frighten voters most. If a county executive says, we may have to cut our firefighters, the immediate response should be, show us everything you refused to cut before you reached the fire department. Show us the grants and the consultants and the travel and the communication staff. Show us the vacant positions. Show us the subsidies. Show us the programs that began as temporary measures and somehow, like they always do, became permanent. Show us every dollar promised to private developers and professional sports franchises. Then, and only then, we can have an honest conversation about necessity. Because there's a larger principle here. We have allowed government to grow well beyond basic duties most citizens expect it to perform. Every crisis creates a new program. Every constituency demands a new office. Every temporary funding stream creates a permanent employees. When revenue rises, government expands. When revenue falls, government insists the expansion can never be reversed. That's how government becomes the master instead of the servant. Limited government does not mean no government. It means government focused on its proper duties, restrained by law, and respectful of the people who pay for it. It means doing the essential things well instead of doing 1,000 things poorly. And it also means accepting the trade-offs, because we cannot demand lower taxes while insisting that every program, subsidy, and amenity remain untouched. If we want government to collect less, we must have the courage to let government do less. Now, that's going to be uncomfortable for some people. Every cut has a constituency. Every subsidy has a lobbyist. Every program has someone prepared to tell us that civilization will collapse without it. Political courage means saying no anyway. The public must demonstrate that same courage. We can't call for limited government in theory and then demand an exception for every project that we happen to enjoy. If taxpayers should not finance somebody else's preferred entertainment venue, they shouldn't finance ours either. So if you don't want the city of Tampa to finance a performing arts center, then you can't have them finance a football stadium and vice versa. Okay, here's the bottom line. Amendment 3 would allow Florida homeowners to keep billions of dollars currently collected through non-school property taxes. Some of that money would move through local businesses and generate additional sales tax revenue without a rate increase, right? But that new revenue would not replace the entire reduction. Government would have less money. Government would have to do less. Protect police, fire, emergency response, roads, drainage, sanitation, courts, elections, and other truly essential duties. Put everything else on the table. And before one politician threatens a deputy or a firefighter, make sure that politician explains every non-essential program, every consultant contract, every private subsidy, and every stadium dollar sitting in the budget. Please don't tell me there's no money for drainage while offering billions for a ballpark. Please don't tell me a homeowner keeping my own money threatens public safety while private developers remain protected. Do not ask working families to tighten their belts while government refuses to loosen its grip. Because it's bigger than a property tax exemption. It's a decision about who should control the fruits of our labor and what government is actually for. Because if Floridians choose to keep more of their money, government must respond with discipline, not panic. Threats or replacement taxes. Governments must do fewer things. Governments must do the essential things better. And private businesses, including professional sports teams, y'all got to pay your own way. My name is Will Lawson. This is the Morning Report. Till we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you. Bye-bye now.